A message from DroadTrip or STMpoodle, whatever his name is, saying that this newest video was practically meant for me. So, you know, if you're gonna get pissed off and mad and upset, you know, I'm sorry. You need to stop sending me replies and messages and then getting upset if I make a video response, because you know I'm a smart ass, you know how I am, and that's just the way it is. He says that I left some comments, and over your past few videos, DroadTrip, over your past few videos, I don't know how many you got posted, but I haven't left maybe at most 3, 4, 5 comments over all your videos. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know, you want to talk about Fedora, FTW, I don't know what your problem is, DroadTrip, because it just seems like you come in phases. I don't care. People have the right to choose to use whatever they want. But when I first met you, you sought me out. You come to me, seeing my videos, you said you loved my videos, you're getting a Mac, you're going to buy a Mac, you love Mac, and you're a Mac diehard. And then all of a sudden you get tired, floop, and flip. You know, and that's fine. You can do that whatever you want. But you sought me out and become my friend and befriended me and said, oh, we ought to meet sometime and do this and do that. All because of this Mac stuff. And now you've met Fedora FTW and you're a Linux fan. Oh, what's his name? Fedora? A Linux distro? And now all of a sudden you're best buds with him, and now all of a sudden you love Linux. You're just a bandwagon baby, and I don't mean that to be insulting. I don't mean that to be insulting at all, but that's just the way it is. I get sick and tired of these people who come to me looking to befriend me, telling me they love my videos. I'm getting a Mac because of your videos. And then a year later, they make a video saying how PCs are cheaper and better, like Vicious Dave did. That's why I got upset about Vicious Dave, because Vicious Dave has always been, I love Macs. I've saved up my money. I finally went and bought a Mac. And now all of a sudden I get this shit. You have the right to your opinion. But people that come and befriended me and tried to get me to be their friend on the fact that they're a Mac fan and this and that and the other, and then all of a sudden they change their opinion, fuck you. Don't come to me befriending me trying to get into my inner circle talking about how you love Macs, and then all of a sudden you don't like them anymore and don't understand why I'm upset about that. You know, you had the right to use and like whatever you want. But when you're the one who seeks me out because you like my videos, and you get a Mac because you say you like my videos, that's a different story. Let's just go ahead and play this and see what it's got.
A video about my very first ever screencast in Linux. And for the longest time, it didn't really gain a lot of attention, and that's all right.
And another thing I can't stand are people who say, I love Linux, so Windows is just the same as this, and Linux is just the same as that. But they sit at home on their big, brand new, shiny iMac recording their videos like DroadTrip is. Listen, if a Windows PC is just as good, or a Linux PC is just as good, then why don't you sell your Mac and go get one? Why not? Because Macs are better, and you know it, or you would, you know. I mean, people who say, oh, Macs are the same as a PC, then why do you use Mac? Why do you use Macs? If they're if PCs are just as good but cheaper, why do you use Mac? Because you think it's better. It's that simple.
Right, because it really wasn't exciting. I just moved my mouse around a red desktop and showed how I changed the color is all. It was just it was more for me to
Linux really isn't that exciting, even though it's a great operating system. It's never going to be there for me because I need too many professional software applications that they just don't support.
Test it out, go through the motions.
And I don't think they're ever going to support it.
And put it on YouTube like that. Well, later on, I got this stinging message from Applesoldier, but I do want to discuss a little bit about the computer war that we know all so well.
Yes, we've been doing this for years, and it's just something fun to do. So please, DroadTrip or STMpoodle, don't be getting upset like you have been and running away from YouTube and all that dumb shit. Well, I'll take that back. You didn't run away from YouTube. Your account got canceled like mine did, and that is a bitch. You know, I can come to the level with you on that. I can level with you and understand the aggravation and frustration that puts a man through when they get their account closed on copyright basis when there's no copyright infringement. So I take that back. DroadTrip did not run from YouTube. His account got canceled, and it shouldn't have, and naturally he got upset and went somewhere else like I did at first. That's usually the process. You find out your account's been canceled falsely, you go anger, you leave, then there's acceptance, then you come back because YouTube has all the traffic. It's this big process.
So many years. Mac versus PC versus Linux. I started getting all these comments, a little bit on the mean side.
Now, they wasn't from me. I haven't left very many comments to you at all. And this is not a video endorsing my followers to go out and attack you. I don't want that at all. That's not what this is for.
Saying how innovative Apple is.
Apple is innovative. We want to go through the list. The very first personal computer as we know it, the iPod, the iPhone, the App Store, iTunes. iTunes has revolutionized the industry. Apple has done nothing but push the tech industry forward over the past 15, 20 years, and to say anything otherwise is completely ridiculous. Apple is the most innovative company in tech on the planet, and if you try to deny that, that just shows that you really are an idiot or in denial, one of the two. Apple has come out with more innovative technologies than anybody else on the planet. Little technologies that people don't even think about that's incorporated into their OS, and the big technologies that people use every day like iTunes and the iPhone and the iPod. I mean, Microsoft has done nothing for the tech world like Apple has. Now they're coming out with, now that they've made FireWire. Come on, they invented FireWire. They've made all these things. They help make all these things a standard. DisplayPort now is become a standard. Come on, what are you talking about?
And
Apple is the most innovative company in tech, period. Everybody else just follows suit. Everybody else just follows. Look at all the iPhone wannabes. Every smartphone on the planet now has that swipe scroll and the flat screen on the front, just like the iPhone does. Every smartphone on the planet looks like the iPhone. Every smartphone on the planet is getting an app store. Even netbooks are going to get an app store now. This is all because of Apple. They're all following Apple. They're all making their phones look like iPhones. They're all giving their phones app stores. They're just following Apple. Everybody follows Apple. Everybody are bandwagon babies.
How much they started everything, and how far ahead of their time that they were from the very...
It's not that they were. They are ahead of their time.
Very beginning. Well, I'm about to debunk that little myth. I am not doubting that Apple makes good products because I am speaking to you on an Apple.
Now, see, that kills me. Why? Why are you speaking to us on an Apple if they're all the same? Why not get a cheaper PC if they're all the same? I'm speaking to you on an Apple, but they're the same as a PC. People try to say, oh, I ain't got no preference. They're all the same to me. Then why do you use a Mac? I don't know. That's what they tell me. That's the answer I get.
iMac. I'm proud of that. I'm always going to keep my iMac.
Then good, be proud of it, and be proud of it and love your Mac like you did when you first contacted me. Now all of a sudden you say you love Mac, but Windows is good too. You're not even using Windows.
But you know what? iMac and Apple is still a machine. My friend Fedora FT...
Yes, they're still a machine. Of course computers are still a machine, and cars are just a machine, but that Ford Focus over there has 4 Firestone tires on it. This Mercedes-Benz has 4 Firestone tires on it. I guess they're the same thing. They're both machines, so they're the same thing. Just because, you know, items are machines does not make them equal. Some things are built better than others, DroadTrip or STMpoodle. That's what you're not. You're acting like, oh, they're all just machines. Yeah, but some machines are built better than others, dude.
W put it beautifully when he did a response to eMeek, not the part with the swearing.
Fedora FTW. What does that tell you? When somebody's got Fedora FTW, that is no different than applesoldier. They're a fanboy. And you come and attached yourself to me, DroadTrip, and you loved Mac, and now it seems you've attached yourself to a Linux fan, and now you love Linux.
And trying to invite a major argument there, but just by saying that Apple uses PC parts.
Apple don't use PC parts. Does the Xbox use Apple parts because it uses a PowerPC chip? Huh? I guess the Xbox uses Apple parts. That's the most completely and utterly ridiculous statement I've ever heard. Intel is not a PC chip maker. It's not a Windows PC chip maker. They are a chip manufacturer. They manufacture chips and motherboards and stuff like that. It don't matter if it's PC, Mac, Linux. That's what they do. They manufacture motherboards. They don't manufacture PC motherboards or Mac motherboards. They manufacture motherboards for computers. And just because something is using Intel does not make it a PC. You're not automatically a PC because you have something Intel in your machine. That is completely and utterly ridiculous. Like I said, that's like saying the Xbox is an Apple product because it has a PowerPC chip in it. It's completely and utterly ridiculous. Intel is a chip manufacturer. They're not a PC maker or a Mac maker. They make chips and motherboards and technology and stuff like that. They're not PC, or they're not Windows technology. They're not Windows PC technology. I don't know how else to reiterate this. Just because a computer has an Intel chip in it does not make it a Windows PC. Intel makes chips. They're non-biased. They don't care if it's an Apple. The chip don't care if it's an Apple or a PC or a Windows PC or a Linux PC. It just does what it's supposed to do. And just because Apple chose Intel does not make them a PC. What if they would have chose AMD? Would they have been a PC then? That's a completely and utterly ridiculous statement. They use PC parts. No, they don't use Windows PC parts. They use computer parts. Intel makes computer parts. They don't make Windows PC parts. They make computer parts. And I can't get this concept across. I feel like I'm not getting it across clear enough. Just because something uses Intel does not make it a Windows PC device. You cannot take an iMac motherboard and stick it in a PC case. You cannot take a Mac Pro logic board and stick it in a PC case. It just don't work that way. It can't. They're manufactured differently.
Now,
they just got the same brand and technology.
They're using a PC motherboard and a Toshiba hard.
They're using a motherboard, personal computer motherboard. When you say PC, I'm hoping you mean personal computer and not Windows PC. There's a difference between a personal computer and a Windows PC. A personal computer encompasses everything: Mac, Linux, Windows. Okay?
Hard drive or Western Digital.
They've always used Western Digital hard drives, or Seagate hard drives, or Toshiba, or Hitachi. There's not a special Mac hard drive. I mean, that's been like that from the beginning, DroadTrip. It's nothing new.
And Intel, processor chip now, it's just shiny new aluminum hardware over so much.
That's stupid. That's like saying just because this car has a V8, it's just as good as this Lamborghini that has a V8. That's ridiculous. Design is worth something. Build quality is worth something, DroadTrip. And you're putting these computers into the category, they got Intel chips, so they're all the same. You're totally leaving out resale value. You're totally leaving out build quality. You're totally leaving out design. All these things are worth stuff to people.
Other common hardware that Apple and PC can share. Now, I know Apple doesn't share all the PC hardware.
It says here, Microsoft got caught distributing a utility to create bootable USB drives and DVD backup from downloaded Windows 7
types,
ISOs.
I'm sure certain premium types, right? And I'm not saying that
there's nothing wrong with the tool.
Because they take the premium type.
Apart from the fact,
this is the only thing that's going to be reliable.
Apart from the fact that it contained code borrowed from an open source project. Now, borrowed. You see how apologetic he's being for Microsoft here? You're becoming a Microsoft and a Linux apologist. Listen to this. This Microsoft is too huge, too big. Whoever put this code inside this to make this app work knew what they was doing. A company the size of Microsoft has no excuse for thievery. They go out and they find a piece of open source code and they put it in their product and use it without giving anybody credit, without asking anybody if they can have it. They just put it in there and that is it. Just like they did with XML. They took XML and used it in Word and didn't ask anybody's permission. A company the size of Microsoft goes out and grabs a piece of code and puts it in their own application to make the application work, and they don't give the person credit that they got the code from. They're nothing but fucking thieves, DroadTrip. Now they're stealing people's code. They stole fucking Apple's ideas back in the goddamn 80s and 70s, or whatever the actual year was, 80s I guess. Quit apologizing for their blatant thievery. They're too big of and too smart of a company to know what was going on. They knew what they was doing. They were just planning on it not getting fucking caught, and they got caught.
No way. But I digress from my point.
Microsoft should have made the source code for its tool available, and most certainly shouldn't have offered it under the license terms it did. So at least we agree, but it seems like to me you're letting them off the hook a little easy, man. This is blatant thievery from the open source community. And if you like Linux the way it is, you should be very upset about this.
Build the greatest computers of all time to this point in our lifetime today. It's similar to cars. Cars are made better than ever.
Yes, cars are made better than ever. Computers are made better than ever. But some are still made better than others. That's the whole point you're missing. Some are still made better than others. Yes, Ford Focus is made better today than it was 10 years ago. And yes, Mercedes are made better today than they was 10 years ago. But Mercedes is still a better made car than a Ford Focus. That hasn't changed.
That analogy. So are computers. They're now coming out in 60.
Where did Windows come from? Put very simply, Bill Gates couldn't be bothered to write his own operating system for the IBM PC. So he bought the rights to QDOS. Another apologetic statement. Bill Gates couldn't be bothered to write his own operating system. Couldn't be bothered. And even from the very beginning, they stole shit from somebody. Only they didn't steal it. They paid for it at least. From the very beginning, Microsoft has took other people's work and called it their own. They take it, they twist it, they change it, and they call it their own. That's Microsoft's way. They are a follower. They follow and expand. They are not an innovative company like Apple. Apple is an innovative company. That's what they do. And Microsoft is not. Now, that's not a bad thing. Microsoft is a adopt and expand company, okay? They're not an innovating company. They adopt the technology that's out there and they expand upon it. They're not a innovative technology company like Apple. There are two different types of development processes going on between Microsoft and between Microsoft and Apple. Apple is all about innovation, whereas Microsoft is all about adoption and expansion.
You can do almost everything on the web for no cost besides the cost of the bandwidth.
He says after he got QDOS, he then got the idea for Windows from Apple.
That you're paying monthly, like on a phone bill now.
And Microsoft's latest innovation is apparently the 20-year-old sudo concept. See, Apple gave Bill Gates a Macintosh before it was released to the public with the GUI. They said, here is a Macintosh computer, Bill. You take it and develop applications on it for it. You'll have to have a computer in order to develop applications for it. So here, take this Macintosh, take it, make you some applications. That way you'll have some applications ready to go to market when we release the machine. So they give Bill an advanced Macintosh computer. He takes it and looks at it and says, oh my God, we got to have this. We have to have this. And they rip it off. Apple give them a Macintosh computer under the deal that they was going to develop software for the Macintosh, and what they did was they stole their idea and made software for their own machines. It was complete blatant thievery.
Most people are dropping their phone bills or going to the internet, right? Like me. So we all use a machine.
Now, let's see, this is what I want to talk about. Apple, on the other hand, pinched the idea from the original Mac OS interface from Xerox and added multitasking well after Microsoft. Microsoft would have never added multitasking if it wasn't for the fact that they copied the Apple OS anyway. And let me get this perfectly clear and straight to you. Apple didn't steal or pinch anything from Xerox. Xerox gave it to them as well as the mouse. They gave it to them. There was a deal that was made. Apple gives Xerox lots of stock, only they couldn't have over so much. They couldn't have a controlling share. They give him lots of stock in return for 2 walkthroughs through Palo Alto Park. Okay, and when they did their walkthroughs, they looked at the interface, the mouse, and the computer, and they got all this, and they took that home with them. So this was a deal that was made with Xerox and Apple in the back rooms. This was not a pirating adventure. Apple did not go to Xerox and pirate their UI and their mouse. No, it was given to them in a deal that was struck between the two companies.
We all communicate the way we want.
So get that straight. Apple didn't steal Xerox OS. It was given to them. Then it says Apple then copied Microsoft by moving to the Intel platform. That is the most ridiculous and utter stupid statement I've ever heard in my life. Apple copied Microsoft because they went to Intel. They pretty much had to go to Intel because the Xbox was using PowerPC chips. They couldn't manufacture the demand. It was too much. They couldn't manufacture for both. And what's going to make them more money? Are they going to manufacture more chips for an Xbox or for an Apple machine, Apple computer? They're going to sell more Xboxes. So they said, listen, we can't do it. At least this is one story I've heard. We can't meet demand of both you and Microsoft for their Xbox. So we're going to go with the Xbox, and Apple had to be left with the decision to go with Intel or AMD. Now, they could have went with AMD, and I'm sure there's other many reasons why that Apple went to Intel and dropped PowerPC, but PowerPC isn't even being made anymore. They're not going to make it anymore after this year or next. To say that just because Apple had to move to Intel means they copied Windows is just completely stupid. Windows is software. Windows makes software. They have nothing to do with machines, hardware, computers at all. They might have their own Logitech or whatever, but Microsoft is a software company. How did Apple copy Microsoft by moving to Intel? It would make much more sense to say Apple, if you was going to accuse them of copying somebody, it'd make more sense to say they copied HP or they copied Dell. You know, they can't. How can Apple copy Microsoft by going to Intel? Microsoft is a software company. They don't even use Intel, but to, you know, let their software run on it. I mean, Apple didn't copy Microsoft by moving to Intel. That's ridiculous. Microsoft is a software company. It would, like I said, again, it would have been better put to say they copied HP or Dell because they're hardware companies and they use Intel. Microsoft don't use Intel chips except to develop software. It's completely stupid, and this is the one statement that I hope you get chastised for. Apple copied Microsoft because they use Intel chips. Microsoft ain't even a hardware maker, man.
How is it that just because this...
And built OS X on a Unix base. How is building OS X on a Unix base copying Microsoft at all? OS X was taken from the 1980s OS Next. Okay, the Next operating system, Steve Jobs, that's where the dock came from and all that. Steve Jobs had Next, and that's where OS X come from, and Next was Unix-based. Microsoft has never used a Unix-based operating system that I know of, and I don't see how that has anything to do with OS X and Microsoft being copies of each other. OS X using a Unix-based operating system is, to me, what separates the two.
This guy over here uses an Apple. That means he is better than this guy over here.
So because Apple uses Intel chips, he's saying here that Tiger, Jaguar, Leopard, and Snow Leopard are just as much copycats as Windows 7. Have you ever seen a more ridiculous statement? You deserve to get hell for this, DroadTrip. You deserve to get hell for this. The innovations that come along with Tiger and Jaguar and Leopard and Snow Leopard are just amazing. And right there's 4 operating systems. 4 operating systems. How many has Microsoft come out with over the past 10 years? 3? And one of them sucks so bad you couldn't even use it? I mean, to say that because OS X has a Unix base and they use Intel chips, that makes Tiger and Jaguar and Leopard a copy too. That's just ridiculous, DroadTrip. That's just the most stupid statement, and I don't know where your reasoning comes from. Apple has used Intel chips since Tiger, so they're copying Windows 7 because they're using Intel chips. Are you kidding me? You're honestly saying Apple's copying Windows because they use Intel chips? I'm speechless. I don't know how to continue with that. Just calling you without calling you names, without calling you stupid names. I don't know how to continue. That's just a completely dumb statement.
Who invented this? It's just a language underneath.
It's just a language underneath. It's more than that, man. You are far simplifying. You're making things too simple. You're simplifying stuff. You're making things too simplistic.
This came out in 1975 before the Macintosh Lisa.
You're looking at a small...
The Lisa wasn't the first Apple computer. The Apple I was the first Apple computer, and that is not a personal computer as we know it. That is a business machine. It don't even have a display except for that little bitty display on the left there. This is nothing like what Apple was aiming for, what Apple was doing, and what Apple was all about. Apple was all about the personal computer market. They made their computer in their garage. This is a fact. They made it from scratch in their garage. They didn't have this IBM as a base model, basing their Apple on. No, they made it from scratch with their own 2 hands. This is a business machine that was used for businesses. If you'll notice this commercial, it shows nothing about personal home use. It's all in the business, and it has these tapes. This is not a personal computer as we know it. It's totally bunk to even try to say, look at this. This was out before the Apple Lisa. You know, and the Apple Lisa wasn't even the first Apple computer.
Same as some large computers a few years ago.
That little bitty display that was like 4 inches. You see that? Yeah, that's Yeah, man, that's comparable to the Macintosh, or the Lisa, even, or the Apple One, even.
Who says Apple invents everything first?
Nobody said Apple invented everything first. I'm just saying Apple invents most stuff first. Apple is an innovative technology company. Apple is innovation. That's what they do. Windows, they are an adopt and expand company. They adopt other people's technology and they expand upon it and try to make it better. Apple is a technology innovator. That's what they do. They innovate technology, and Microsoft is an adapt and expand company, where Apple is a innovative company. Microsoft is an adopt and expand company. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're just two different philosophies. Microsoft has always been the adopt technology type of people. They adopt technology and they expand on that technology. And Apple has always been the innovative technology leader. That's just the way it is. No other company in the tech industry innovates more than Apple. That's just the way it is. And I want you all to remember when I say Microsoft is an adopt and expand company. Really think about that. That's what they do. They adopt and expand. Apple innovates.
And we do. We've got to be flexible. We've got to get
insurance company, it says. This is really irrelevant. I think he has one little message here at the end. We'll see.
Put information to work.
We all need to be grateful for all the computers that are out today.
And that I agree with you on. We all should be grateful, no matter if it's Windows, Linux, or Mac. They've all pushed us forward in so many ways, and we all should be extremely grateful to all three areas of the personal computer industry. OS 10. Again, this video was not to upset you, DroadTrip. I'm a Mac purist. I take it very personal when friends of mine from a long time ago that loved Mac as much as I did, and they come out with videos like this. It bothers me. It gets under my skin. It don't bother me when I see some PC fanboy bashing Mac, because that's it's expected. But when I see somebody like you, or Vegas Underground, or somebody like that just has been a really big Mac advocate when they first come to YouTube, and then all of a sudden they change to this peace and harmony routine where everybody is the same and everybody gets along, that aggravates me when I hear that coming from one-time diehard Mac users, okay? And again, I don't really mean to upset you with this video. I'm trying to respond as tastefully as I can. I am an asshole, I am a jerk, but I've tried to hold down on this video. So we'll see you next time. OS 10.